Oh man, so has Justin Sun, the founder of Tron, that's TRX token, solved what Kwon didn't. For those who aren't familiar, unless you've been living under a rock, Kwon was the founder of Terra Luna, right? UST, the algorithmically backed stablecoin, supposed to be decentralized money, which then crashed, losing a $60 billion ecosystem along the way. But Justin Sun has just come out and he's now saying he thinks he can solve this stablecoin dilemma, right? What are we going to be doing? Are we going to be backing this? Are we going to be staying away from this? Are we going to trip over the same stones time and time again? We're going to break down what's going on in this video, so smash up the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, check out the links below to trade using PRIMEXBT and get up to a $7,000 bonus. The link in the description. Now let's get straight into this, guys, because we got a tweet from Justin Sun, who likes to call himself His Excellency, so hopefully that doesn't give you a clue or put you off too early. In essence, he goes that they're building out his USDD, which is his algorithmically backed stablecoin. And he mentions it's going to be over collateralized by a combination of stable and volatile assets. I'm going to come on to exactly what he says and break down how this is going to work and why he thinks this is going to be different and what lessons has he learned from the previous Luna. But first, let's take a look at TRX token, because this coin has really been outperforming. If you take it from January to where we're at right now, we're up 74% on the year at a period where Bitcoin, we all know the whole market has been in this direction, right? So insane movements by Tron. If we go check out DeFi Llama and we click on chains, you will see that Tron is now in the top 3 ranked by TVL, which is insane. You can see it's the only one that's up. It's up 14% over the last 7 days when everything else is down. So it's now sitting at 6.15 billion, just a couple of billion behind Binance Chain. So it's now flipped Solana, flipped Avalanche, and it's sitting up there in TVL. Now, if we click into the project, you can see that there's a couple of projects which are heading up the majority of the total value locked, and primarily there's 2.99 billion locked in JustLend, and there's 1.45 billion locked into Just Stables, the protocol. So we're going to come on to that shortly, but first let's take a look at what lessons Justin Sun thought he's learned through this current process. So the first thing to cover off is that he mentions that USDD is going to be over collateralized, and we're going to come on to how he's going to collateralize that and how it will be different from Terra Luna. Now, the first thing he mentions here is, unlike Terra, the Tron blockchain hosts the largest trading USDT, which is Tether, supply of any blockchain globally. And he shows this chart showing that outside of Ethereum, which is its next close competitor, Tron, which is the dark blue line here, has more Tether supply on its blockchain than any other, and particularly much more than Terra Luna, which went bust. So he then goes on to say, what is USDD? So to summarize this for everybody, the way USDD is going to work is very similar actually to Terra Luna, right? So Terra Luna, you would mint your UST and you would therefore burn your at the time Luna, the sister token. This is going to be the exact same thing. You burn TRX, which is their blockchain token, and you would mint one USDD, which is the stablecoin, okay? And vice versa. If you then want to redeem your dollar, you then want to you give that back, which is then burnt, and then they mint one TRX, okay? So it goes through the reversed operation to get your dollar back. So now let's crack on to see, okay, what's going on here? What's going to be different? So the first thing he says is they're going to be over-collateralized, and they're going to be over-collateralized by 180 to 200% range. Now, to put this into perspective, Terra Luna started off as solely algorithmically backed, okay? So it was just algorithmically backed. There was no collateral apart from, at the time, the Luna mechanism. Afterwards, the Luna Foundation Guard was then created, if you guys remember the history of it, and they started buying some Bitcoin as reserves. I think in the end, they had about 15% Bitcoin collateralization around the time of the attack. So definitely not enough. I think there was like $3 billion of Bitcoin and like 19 billion in the token of UST to be protected, right? So they were never quite collateralized at all. They weren't even close to 100%, and Tron is saying, okay, they're going to solve this by going to 100 and 180 to 200%. But then they list what they're going to collateralize with. And this is where it gets interesting. They say they're going to use a mixture of different volatility assets. Okay, so they're going to use Tether, they're going to use USDC, which is by Circle, we know that, and then BTC as well. Okay, so that's what they're going to use initially, and then they'll add TRX to this later on. He also explains, let me just explain my issue with this first. So just as we're going along, like how, for me, you're creating decentralized money. Okay, so the mission here is he wants to solve what Do Kwon hasn't and create the workable decentralized money. But he's backing it, so he's backing his USDD with other centralized money, US Tether, USDC. How does that work, right? These are fiat backed, and by the way, you can argue these all have their own issues. So we've spoken about Tether plenty of times. They, how well are they audited? What about the rehypothecation problem? How many times is the money being lent out? How liquid are the reserves, which they say are in cash equivalents? We've made videos going through this in the past. USDC has a little bit more transparency and a little bit clearer allocation into cash and cash equivalents. But how can you then back that with more risky assets? If one of these underlying were to have an issue or a depeg, then yours is going to have issues and a run on it as well. That's not great, and just doesn't make sense for me fundamentally. And you're not really algorithmically backed if you're backing your token with a centralized token. Just did not make sense to me. Okay, so then let him go on to explain. So he then said, what have we learned from Terra? And the thing he says, inorganic and unsustainable growth is bad. Terra grew on the backbone of Anchor, a 20% fixed yield lending protocol that at its peak attracted over 14 billion. So he's saying, look, they suffered from their own success. They grew too quickly, and because of that, they then really failed with their lack of collateralization. So he comes up with his solution. But before I show you that, I just want to click onto one of the Tron platforms, something called JustLend. And we just showed you that JustLend is contributing 3 billion. So half of the total value locked of Tron is in this network. So it gives you similar Anchor vibes, right? Anchor protocol was a huge part of the Terra Luna ecosystem. And again, you wonder why people are locking money in here. I'll show you why. Because of this. On your USDD, on your stablecoin, the Tron stablecoin, you can get basically 20% APY. Does this not remind you of Anchor Protocol, right? So that's the same reason. And here you've got you can see here 3 billion in total value locked into here, people wanting their 20%. Very similar mechanisms. For me, I'm not going to trip over the same coin twice, right? So yeah, hopefully that gives you some insight. Now, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's go through this. What is he going to do different? So he says he's going to do it slowly. Okay, so he's going to have a sustainable approach. That's what he's saying. So the way he's going to do it is he says he will guarantee people who leave their USDD on exchanges and who are stakers on Curve, Ellipsis, SunSwap, Sun, JustLend, the ones we showed you, etc., will receive fixed 30% up to the first 2 billion in USDD mintable. Okay, so basically saying, look, I'm not going to let it run up like Anchor. I'm going to do it in a slow and methodical approach. Okay, he then says transparent over collateralization is critical to preventing depegging, and he goes through what we just kind of discussed, which is that they did not have enough, right? They had 3 billion of BTC to back 19 billion in UST supply. That was not enough for Terra. And then he goes through to kind of announce his roadmap of where he's going and what he thinks can happen from here. I mean, what's my view on this? My view on this is there are too many alarm bells ringing on this one, guys. Look, Justin, you got to know Justin Sun's history. If you guys don't know his history, in fact, really interesting read article. It's a very long article on The Verge. If you want this, jump into the Discord or tweet me and I'll send this article to you. But it's a very interesting article breaking down the many escapes, I think they call them, by Justin Sun. He's got a very, very complicated history in the crypto space, dating back to when he launched Tron, the issues with his ICO in China, from then when he acquired BitTorrent. He then purchased the exchange Poloniex, which everybody knows. He's got a lot of smoke around him, and sometimes you've heard the saying, right? There's no smoke without fire. It just reminds you of another enigmatic type character, a character like Do Kwon with a bit of an ego, with an ego that needs to be stroked, right? And it just makes complete sense that when Do Kwon fails, he's going to want to jump in and say, I'll solve that. Do Kwon, you couldn't do it. I'll figure it out, because that mind trip, that power trip is something that he'll probably chase. For me, I'm going to stay away from it for no simpler reason as when I said at the time, Anchor Protocol, I never invested in Anchor Protocol. Even at the peak of the hype, I never did it. When I see things like that, 20% yields, 30% APYs, my mom taught me if it's too good to be true, it probably is. right? And that's a really good rule of thumb to carry you through business, through trading stocks, through trading cryptos, real estate. You just need to keep that in your mind. And sometimes you don't need to be greedy. You just need a sustainable way to grow. You don't need those 100,000 X's. You don't need 30% APYs. You can do things steadily without being so greedy. So for me, these things at this point stack all way too similarly with what's going on at Terra Luna. I don't see anything fundamentally different. Okay, the fact that he's over collateralizing, that's a good start compared to Terra Luna, but to collateralize with centralized coins, how are you then becoming decentralized money? So definitely one I'm going to be staying away from. Let me know in the comments what you think about Tron and USDD. No doubt the total value locked, in my opinion, is going to go up because we know what people are like. They're going to chase that 20%. They're going to want to leave their total value locked, and then we're going to repeat this cycle because people like tripping over the same stones or pebbles again and again and again, and they just struggle to learn. Hope you guys enjoyed this insight into whether Justin Sun at Tron can do what Kwon couldn't. If you like this video, smash up the like button and subscribe. As always, if you like my content, hit the like button, subscribe, but also check out the links to our course member live streams, ijaz.uk/member. We have 3 times weekly live streams. We've got another one towards the end of the day today where you can jump on. We talk tokenomics, we talk about the fundamentals of coins, we talk about, we critique your portfolios, we do technical analysis. It's there for you to ask questions in real time, live in the market, and get my thoughts live on the market as and when it's happening. Also, if you want to get trading, if you want to buy Bitcoin, PRIMEXBT offering this community up to $7,000 in bonuses. Yes, you just need to deposit using the code Ijaz1 when you deposit, and you'll activate your bonus. You don't even need to use your deposit from then. You can use your trading bonus as soon as you've deposited. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.